Okay. Wow, we got a small group today. Hi, Sandy.
Mark, let's get started.
Oh, okay. Okay, so before I start screen sharing, let me explain the idea of a project fair. Before Zoom, a project fair would have taken place, as it still does, in some place like Western Africa. And you would have a big convention hall and you would have lots of booths. And each booth would have a project title up on the transom. And you would have all sorts of materials and probably a PowerPoint for your project. And but after the advent of COVID-19 and the Zoom platform, we're now able to do it this way. So we don't have booths, but we do have a PowerPoint presentation, and we have some of the people who are sponsoring projects. So I'm going to get started, and people can catch up as they come in. So here it is. And here's the, whoops, wait a sec. I need to timeshare. There we go. So there's the title page, and I'm going to start right in with the various projects. So as I come up to projects that people are the leaders of, I'm going to ask them to talk about their grants. And if you were at a real project fair, you'd go up to the booth and the guy would make his pitch and show you his PowerPoint, give you a brochure probably, and that would be the way things went. Today, we're just going to run through them. So here's the first one. I don't see anyone here who's involved in this project, so I'll talk about it. This is a special district governor project. And this year, District Governor Randy Hart and Steve Handy from the Rotary Club of Hilo are working on an environmental sustainability grant in Fiji. And their partner is the Rotary Club of Lautoko, which is in one of the main islands of Fiji. And they're doing a project at a school in a remote, one of the remote islands in the Fiji chain. So they're going to put solar panels on the school and on a couple of teachers' houses. And this will save them so much money because right now, they only have electricity for 2 hours a day, and it's provided by a diesel generator. So in addition to getting rid of that carbon being pumped into the atmosphere, the savings from not having to buy diesel will enable them to buy laptop computers for all the students in the school. And not only that, but they'll have electricity to run their laptop computers. So that's the project. It's mostly funded from Randy's district governor allocation of DDF, but they will also be looking for funds from Rotary clubs. They're also planning a trip. So if you're interested in the trip to Fiji, you might also be interested in participating in the grant. So that's the grant in Fiji. That's our first project. One of the first projects our district has done in the environmental sustainability area of focus.
Does this have a global grant number?
Yes, it does. No, it does not yet. But
Okay.
you know, that's not really a problem because we're just waiting for the participants to finalize the grant and the budget and put it into the system.
Okay.
Does it have a tentative date that they're thinking of going?
Yeah, they're actually thinking of going in March of this year. And you know, they'll be getting information out on you know, how to sign up and, you know, what the cost is and all of that pretty soon, I think. So I'm looking here at the participants. I don't see Arjun here, so I'll talk about this one as well. This
I'm
is,
here, Mark, but you can talk. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead then.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So this one is actually sort of like Adaptive Village project, part of the Adaptive Village. We are adopting a small village in not very far from Kathmandu, but very remote in terms of access. And so it has 3 projects actually. One is in order to do the like a complete change in the village, make it very impactful. We have water project that's actually led by another district. We're working together. And this project, this one, biogas is for this year, both water and biogas is for this year. And the next year, we're going to do the cow shed and the economic development one in this whole village. This project is outgrowth of lots of discussion we had on a different district, including past district governor from Nepal. Rose, he is from West Coast, and Naomi, myself, and Mark. And there was lots of discussion before we formulated this project. In terms of impact, it's going to be very, very impactful project. I think that's it. Mark, would you like to add anything? That I can send anyone interested, we can send you the detailed proposal.
So,
And Mark
Arjun,
knows everything about this. Yes, Naomi,
Arjun,
please.
can I add what Rajiv said yesterday? He said
Sure,
that
please.
we're concentrating on this village, and it's a kind of a holistic kind of thing where we're doing a water project, this biogas, and then there's a third one coming up. And this is really going to make a really big impact on this village. It's going to change their lives because of what we're doing for their village with water, clean water, and this cooking gas, because this biogas helps them not have smoke in when they cook, and so it's going to affect their health. And there's an educational component too. So the children have skills that they're going to learn from us. So this is a really impactful project.
Yeah.
Exactly, Naomi. And another thing, very impressive thing about this project is the collaboration. So the local government is big collaborator here. So for example, on the water project, the water tank is storage is actually, they are going to build it, and it's going to be part of it. And also on this the biogas also, there are the significant cost coming from local government. Local government actually in money is going to the Rotary project, and the Rotary Club is managing the money. And also for the cow shed one, there is going to be more than 50% coming from the local government. So in terms of local participation, there is a really, really good participation here.
Yeah.
Can I ask Arjun and Mark a question? Is this,
Yes.
looks like it's with past District Governor Rajib's club, Rotary Club of Kathmandu Metro. But when you
Yes.
say it's in conjunction, you got 2 GG numbers. So did you blend 2 global grants together to make this work?
Actually, Kimo,
There are 3 actually.
yeah, actually, there are 3 grants. And so I actually did not take this out. The 3rd grant is to do environmentally planned cow sheds that will allow us to collect urine and develop nitrogen-based fertilizers.
Mark, when you say, did you say cow sheds? Because it doesn't sound like that on Zoom. It sounds
Cow sheds.
Yeah,
just
cow sheds.
Okay.
Cow sheds.
So what happened here, Kimo,
in
is
California, it's coming through differently.
I think it's your.
My bad hearing?
RJ, go ahead. RJ, go
Cow
ahead.
sheds.
no worries. Yeah. So Chemo, that's a good point. Actually the water one, it's not our district. It's the district 50201, the number
Oh,
you see on the wash related.
Yeah.
And so the another one is we haven't started. These three projects are related. You cannot do all these parallel. So you have to have water first, and then the water project is all funded. It's pretty much ready to submit. They will submit this week or next week. And so other project we are working on is after the water project. So by the time our project is approved already, the water project will be completed, and we'll do that. And the next year sooner, we will do the cowshed, or I don't know my accent gonna help here at all, Chemo, but that's the plan.
So what's the timing of the 234 3321? Is that going to be like in a couple years?
Oh,
Oh,
the
no.
timing is, as you know, all the Rotary grants, the timing is little difficult to predict. There is a time for like collecting money and things like that. And when you were doing things locally, places like Nepal, it depends on season too. Like rainy season, we cannot work. So, but in generally we have sort of have a rhythm here. By December, we complete the grant and submit. Not later than January, we're submitting all the grants. And then, I mean, the submit means submitted to the grant center. And then the approval process, depending on grants, some grants have approved in like a few weeks or maybe month. But some of the grants, it has taken several months. But this grant, so Rajiv, as you know, he's involved, Mark, myself, Naomi. So we've done several global grants. So before we submit, we make sure it's pretty much ready to be approved. So we don't expect long time to be approved. Probably it will be approved in February or so. And by that time, hoping the water project will be already started. And I think by May or so, this project will, they will start implementing, or maybe April.
Right. Yeah, one other thing I'd like to mention, Arjun mentioned collaboration. This grant, and also especially the grant in Fiji, really the Zoom platform has enabled us to do Rotary Friendship Exchange on a major scale. And so we have a Nepal task force that consists of past district governor Rajiv, past district governor Naomi, Arjun, myself, James Ham, and some other people who drop in. Chemo has been on it because he's involved in telemedicine projects in Nepal. So there's a lot of collaboration going on. We meet almost weekly to talk about this project. So, you know, it's a great platform for developing relationships with clubs and districts in other countries. So I just want to mention that because that's an important aspect of these grants we're working on together. And of course, as you know, our district is planning a trip to Nepal in December. So, you know, the collaboration on Zoom has led to a friendship exchange on a physical level, and, you know, a trip that I think will be a real eye-opener for people in our district. So I'm going to move on. I don't want to keep you too long. So the next project.
Mark, can I add one thing, not specific to the
Sure.
this project, but a global grant in general? So all of you from different clubs here, so I would like to mention one thing. So the grant center changed something. Until last year, we're not able to add committee members from other clubs. Only the host club could add. But this year they changed. In all these global grants, it allows committee members. The global grant needs committee members. There is a primary contact and there is a committee. So the committee can be from any other clubs also. So if any of you maybe not ready to completely lead the project, but want to know the process and or in somehow contribute and be a member of any of the grant, this grant in Nepal, or also any of the grant, please let me know or Mark know, or let the primary contact of each of the grant know. You can be in the committee and make a bigger difference, contribute a lot. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, I'm gonna move on. So the next two projects are my projects, and they're both in the area of blindness prevention. This falls under the area of focus of disease prevention and treatment. The first one is New Rotary Eye Hospital in New Delhi. What has happened is that the Rotary Club of Delhi South Metropolitan has been gifted a building, and they're planning to put in an eye bank where they collect cornea and other eye products for use in eye surgeries. One floor of that building, actually the top floor, an 11,000 square foot space, will become a new Rotary Eye Hospital in New Delhi. The total budget is $400,000, but half of that is coming from the International Agency for Blindness Prevention. They are going to match the Rotary grant. Our sister district in Kyoto is going to contribute DDF in cash. So there'll be a major source of funding for this grant. And then, of course, I'm promoting the grant in District 5000. We already have a Rotary Eye Hospital in New Delhi at Carol Bagh, and we're doing on average 1,000 cataract surgeries a year and about 100 glaucoma surgeries. So, and it's all at charity. So these operations are completely free. They're aimed at poor people in the slums in Delhi. So it's a charity eye hospital, and you know, it's saving a lot of people from going completely blind. We also have a project in rural Sri Lanka along the same lines, but this doesn't involve a hospital. Actually, what they're planning to do is set up eye camps. This is something that's not widely known in the United States, but in the developing world, what they do is recruit. They do a large public information campaign. They set up an eye camp, usually runs about a week. And during the eye camp, they screen children for eyeglasses, you know, for nearsightedness and that kind of thing. They also do basic ear, nose, and throat medical examinations for the children. But what they're really looking for are candidates for cataract and glaucoma surgery. And these basically feed into the Rotary Eye Hospitals that have already been set up in Sri Lanka. I'll talk more about our relationship with Sri Lanka a little bit further down, but as many of you know, the past Rotary Foundation trustee chair was Ravi Ravindran, who was a good friend of our district and is a good friend of past district governor Del Green. So I'll get into that a little bit more later, but the reality is that right now Sri Lanka is in an economic meltdown. A lot of the medical care services have been suspended because they simply don't have money to fund their national budget. And so this eye camp and cataract surgery project is something that, you know, it's basically on an emergency basis, and it will help them get through this period of economic meltdown. So that's another blindness project in Sri Lanka. This is another one of Arjun's grants. I'll let him speak to it. Equipping a spinal injury center in Nepal. So another Nepal project. Arjun, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So I would like to mention that this is kind of floating at this moment in the sense, so it's the Naranghat is actually like a crossroad of Nepal, actually in the middle of all the highways. The accidents in the highways are really a big problem, and then there is no really spinal injury center around that area. So all the local clubs in that area led a project to build the spinal injury center and equip with the Rotary grant. So the local resources already constructing the building, the hospital, and they already raised some fund for this. For example, first phase, they raised $46,000 already in Nepal. So this is pretty solid project. But one of the thing is they are looking for international partner for this project. So we haven't really told them that we are going to be international, but any of the club like to lead on this project, there is opportunity. And the person leading this project is Guneshwar, who came to our district conference, who attended our district conference in Aulani in person. And so he has done several global grants. He is in the know. He can make things happen. So if any of the club would like to lead this kind of project, there is not so much financial commitment at the beginning, but this is an opportunity. Right, Mark, would you like to add anything?
No, I don't know much about this
This
grant.
is sort of like a backup project in the sense, because the Rotary grants like projects, you never know if the project going to be funded or not. At the end, sometimes the project might not happen, but this is a backup also. We have this grant.
How much
Okay.
money are they looking for? As a
There is
match?
no minimum or max, because there are unlimited things they are planning. They are planning different global grants. At this time, to be an international international partner, in the sense sponsor club, they are not really putting any minimum dollar amount, maybe like, let's say 5,000 will do it. But definitely they will make this project will be hundreds of $1,000s, and they are pretty sure they will be able to find all these resources. So the 46,000 number was from several months ago. Probably now they already have $60,000-$70,000, I think.
Okay,
Hate to be the one asking questions all the time. I did a project in the Bhaktapur Cancer Hospital, but this is not the cancer hospital. That, by the way, that cancer hospital was sponsored by International Rotary, not only local Rotary, but Rotarians in Washington, California. But it's not the same hospital, the Bhaktapur Hospital.
Hmm.
This is in Chiton, where the tiger place is.
Oh, okay.
You are thinking Bhaktapur, that's right next to Kathmandu. That's a
Yeah.
cancer place.
Yeah.
But in this hospital also, there are lots of Rotary projects. So the Rotary clubs near this town, in this town, are really, really active. They
Yeah.
do like some of the one club where we work with, Guneshwar, he alone does 3 to 4 global grants every year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And Bhaktapur is an amazing historical place. It's just
thank you, Kimo.
Okay,
unbelievable if
We're
you
gonna
have a
move
chance to go there.
what's going on? Okay, so we come to Thailand. And Dave Master, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Tell us about this grant.
All right. So the global grant is 2343752, and it's in Thailand, and it's Sekomptu Hospital equipment. We are looking at another global grant that we are doing with the Salam Rotary Club. And there is a host of equipment that is being requested for this site. An assessment has already been completed by the clubs and their representatives, working with the community to be able to find out what was needed for this particular rural hospital. It is Sam, who is our representative, is a former past district governor, and he's been the one that's been working with us for the last 10 years. And he's excellent with regards to planning these things and getting them funded and getting them completed. Every year we've had one of these for the last 9 or so years, and every one of them has been completed, and sometimes always completed within 1 year. So there's never a guarantee, because there's always situations where supplies cannot be, supplier chains are causing delays, but pretty much like last year's one, we were able to complete within the same fiscal year. So it's nice to know that if you're giving funds to it, that you could actually go visit the site And they always have a large ceremony to deliver the equipment. They do training and then they do ongoing support and maintenance of that equipment through the hospital, making sure that they have the finances and the plans to continue operating the equipment. We're talking about, in this particular case, a defibrillator, phototherapy, ultrasound machines, ECGs, portable dental units, and suction equipment that's going to be in there for a budgetary cost of $37,000. They've already committed $8,000, and through the funds that we've got from our club, we're looking at, we probably are at $20,000. So we have to make up another $17,000, which doesn't take very long as we've got people that are giving matching funds. So if you've got money that you would like to allocate towards this particular grant, we'd love to have your support. We are trying to plan a trip out there, as well as possibly one that goes into Cambodia to visit a couple of orphanages that we also are doing some district grant work. So that we'll have more news on that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. And we love to work with you folks. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving right along. So Vietnam, Mariko, are you here? Are you able to join?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
excellent.
Well, okay. So, sorry, I'm not in Hawaii, so my connection may be a bit spotty, but this is the project that our club is trying to be the primary sponsor for the first time. So this is a bit of an experience, for us, with the great guidance by Mark and Arjun. So this is a project, to benefit the school, build the toilets for their boarding students. This is in the hill. I understand this is in the hillside, 2 hours west of Da Nang, in the central Vietnam. And this school, because of the hill tribes, have ethnic groups, students, about 1/6 of the 780 students from the hill tribes. So they are in the boarding programs, but the boarding part doesn't have very good, or actually they have very dilapidated toilets systems. So as a result, in the last few years, these ethnic group students are not coming to the school. So this is to change that situation by building toilets. So Arjun knows the Vietnam sponsoring organizations, and so maybe Arjun and Mark, you can add some elements to this proposal.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to mention is that we have identified this project as a WASH project. And one of the things about Rotary Global Grants is that Rotary only recognizes one area of focus for each project. But the WASH in Schools project is actually a collaboration between the Rotary Action Group for Water and Sanitation and Hygiene and the Rotary Action Group for Basic Education and Literacy. So it actually straddles two areas of focus in the Rotary world. The grant actually falls formally under the WASH area, the Water and Sanitation area of focus, but it is a collaboration with two groups. So it is expected that the WASH project will actively contribute to a better educational experience for the students. And that's pretty obvious if you think about it. I mean, for one thing, girls will be able to, these are gender sensitive toilet blocks. So, girls will be able to attend school throughout the year, regardless of, how their periods are working out, without worrying about, being in a co-gender bathroom situation. And these bathrooms are in such bad shape that no one can use them. So this will actually enhance the educational experience as well. So, and this is another great example of collaboration Arjun knows Linda Burns, who is kind of the inspiration for this project. And he introduced the grant. Mariko was interested in Vietnam and in this area of focus. So we got together a group, we're talking to them on Zoom. So it's another great example of collaboration to put these global grants together.
And then maybe we can add that Conrad Ike is also interested in this project because he takes his friends and colleagues and so on every year to Vietnam. So I'm hoping that we can take a trip to Vietnam maybe next year and then visit this project.
Right. Okay, I'll move along. So this grant does not have a global grant number yet. And I kind of put it at the end because it may be a little aspirational, but it follows up on a grant that Mariko's Club was involved in last year, which was Global Grant 2016381. And that was a female adolescent-centered non-formal education for Rohingyas in Bangladesh. And if you're interested in why that mouthful of jargon ended up being in the grant title, it's because the government of Bangladesh will not allow formal education in the refugee camps for the Rohingya refugees. So that is why the non-formal education jargon is in there. It's non-formal, but it is a project that is organized along UNICEF guidelines, and it has achieved approval from the government of Myanmar. What's happening now is that Bangladesh is proposing to move about 100,000 of the refugees to a remote island off the coast. And this map shows you what is happening. Cox's Bazar is down here on the right at the very bottom. And Basan Char, which is the island they're moving the Rohingya to, is up here by Chittagong. And so what my partners are proposing is to use the Myanmar curriculum, but to do it as a distance learning project, specifically aimed at, again, this is aimed at female adolescents. It's formally a non-formal curriculum, but it is based on the Myanmar platform, which has recently been approved by the government of Bangladesh. So, you know, I'll be working on this grant throughout the year to see if it's feasible. And we'll probably be, because we're not going to make the November 1st deadline, we'll probably be looking for funding all over the world. But I wanted you to be aware of this grant because we are trying to address a refugee problem that is probably one of the most severe in the world. And District 5000 Rotarians can do a lot by advocating for refugees, you know, not only in Myanmar, but also Ukraine, Afghanistan. You know, it's a serious problem in all over the world. My Rotarian Action Group is also focusing on Uganda because there's a huge influx of refugees from the Congo, where there's basically a civil war going on. So, you know, something to be aware of, and I'll be working on this grant probably throughout the year. This is a project, we've recently had a new Rotarian join our district. His name is Chris Putak. And Chris was one of the founders of the Rotarian Action Group for Environmental Sustainability. He has just turned out as a director of the RAG, and he's also the director of a subcommittee on, he's the director of the Mangrove Project, which is involved in mangrove restoration all over the world. Chris has several global grant projects that he's working on, and he's looking for clubs to lead them or clubs to participate. So I'll keep you updated on that, and check out the environmental sustainability page on our website, the District 5000 website. I'll be updating you throughout the year on Chris's projects. Chris is actually going to take over the environmental committee for District 5000. But in the meantime, I'll be keeping you updated on the progress and SRAG meetings and etc. But the Sundarbans Island are a unique environmental crisis zone. They're all the way from Calcutta to Bangladesh. And the mangroves have a huge environmental impact on reducing the impact of sea level rise on coastal areas of northeastern India and all of Bangladesh. So this is a project, I think I will talk about this because I don't see Pili here. We do have a global grant number. I'm sorry, it doesn't show here. But this is a proposed global grant for sexual and reproductive rights in Colombia. It's essentially aimed at teenage and young women in Colombia. It was originally proposed by Pili Valderrama as a joint project with the Rotary Club of Tuluá in Colombia. It provides an educational curriculum and workshops for 15 schools in 3 districts of Colombia. And it's aimed at, as I said, teenage girls and young women. There's a real problem with sex education for girls and women in Colombia. And as a result of that, some cultural practices, nearly 15% of girls in Colombia experience sexual violence. And often it ends up in teen pregnancy because the Catholic Church discourages birth control and abortion. Early marriage is a problem, casual sex is a problem, prostitution. The teenage pregnancy rate in this rural district of Colombia is 30%. At this point, Adrian King is looking at leading this project for the Rotary Club of Waikiki. And of course, Pili and I will be on the committee. We're looking for, one of the problems we're running into is the new guidelines on the areas of focus. This falls into the area of maternal and child health, but the Rotary Foundation is requiring that any program for young women is run by a licensed medical facility. This is something of a problem in Colombia. So right now we're investigating how we can make this work as a Rotary Global Grant, but we'll keep you updated on that as well. And, we'll be trying to resolve this before the Global Grants deadline. So stay tuned. Stay tuned to the Global Grants website on District 5000. So I want to get into some projects that are not strictly global grants. And this project that was launched by past District Governor Del Green is a good example of how a project can lead to a bigger collaboration. This started out as a fairly small project to raise donations from District 5000 Rotarians to put together food packages for people in Sri Lanka. The economic meltdown there is so serious that the government is unable to manage food precarity, for food security for its citizens. They're unable to supply food, to supply fuel. They've run out of gasoline, of diesel. So there's basically a total breakdown of the Sri Lankan economy. And so working with past Rotary International President, Ravi Ravindran, Del set up this Rotary project to provide food for people in Sri Lanka. That actually led me to revive a friendship I have through the Rotary Action Group for Blindness Prevention with past district governor Gauri Rojan. And so we have been working on that global grant I mentioned earlier for blindness prevention. And we're also working with UNICEF to develop new projects. So Rotary International, the Rotary Foundation are partners with UNICEF in $1 million grant to deliver food and fuel to families with children in Sri Lanka. So anyone who has connections in Sri Lanka, who is thinking of doing a project there, let me know and we'll try to get it going. And, if we can't do it this year, we can start planning for next year. Sri Lanka is a major crisis point in the world economy, and it's well worth looking at for projects for our district. The final projects I'd like to talk about are related to the inter-country committee concept. This was kind of introduced to the broader Rotary world in 2021 at the virtual convention, Rotary International Convention, that was supposed to be held in Taiwan, but the pre-convention was dedicated to the inter-country committees that are sponsored by Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. So I have recently joined the Ukraine-US Inter-Country Committee. And that committee has been working on a range of multi-district disaster grants. And these disaster grants are very interesting. They're very simple to do. They operate on a very short timeline because they're designed to deliver emergency food supplies, medical supplies, blankets, support shelter box, however they're designed, but they can be submitted in a week. They can be approved in less than a week. And the whatever materials are being purchased can be purchased immediately. Then the final report can be filed. Final report is approved, and then you do the next grant. So every district in the world is entitled to $25,000. There is no matching requirement. And so as I was exploring the multi-district grant that was being offered through the Inter-Country Committee, our zone 2627, also proposed a multi-district grant. And so this slide shows how they work. And so every district can apply for a multiple disaster grant. 53 districts have already received 2 grants. 17 multi-district grants have been approved. The most common projects are for food, water, accommodation, transport, ambulances, medical supplies, etc. The current situation, there have been 322 disaster response worldwide. These are only for Ukraine. They don't include disaster grants for other areas, right? 10.3 million has already been spent. There's about $4 million left in the initial corpus of contributions from Rotarians out throughout the world. 29 countries have been involved, 238 districts, and 110 grants have been closed. There's $4 million left. So the zone grant was for an ambulance and medical supplies for Kyiv, and that was arranged with the Rotary Club in Poland. We managed to get 7 districts in our zone together, including ours. And so we had a $175,000 project. It has already been approved. We're now in the process of delivering the ambulance and medical supplies to Kyiv, and that grant will be closed out within a couple of weeks. So we're now working on our next project, and that project is to rehabilitate a building in Kharkiv, which is right on the border of the combat zone. But the thing is that winter is coming, and temperatures in Kharkiv drop to below 0 during the winter. there are something like 300,000 people in Kharkiv now who are internally displaced, meaning they're homeless and have no place to live. By rehabilitating this building, we'll be able to house about 600 families, which is about 1,200 people. And again, we can get this grant together. We're looking for $200,000. We're trying to get together 8 districts. I'm talking to districts. I'm talking to Nepal. I'm talking to our contact there, our contacts in Japan, in Taiwan, on the mainland in California, and also for, of course, District 5000 will participate. But this is a great program, and it shows you what the Rotary Foundation can do when Rotarians come together and support something like relief for Ukraine. Now, building on this, I have also joined our district has also joined the Intercountry Committee for India, and we're now working on creating a new international committee in Pakistan. So these are international projects that are not global grants, but they are programs of the Rotary Foundation. And there's something that I think our district Rotarians should know about and support. So that's the end of my presentation. I think now I'm going to stop sharing and open it up for questions and comments.
Mark, I have a question. Rich Corson, could you tell us at the beginning of that last part you talked about every district is allowed how much money in a grant and how many grants for each district?
So the district, so Ukraine, districts in Ukraine, and there's only one, and the countries around Ukraine, so Romania, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, etc., they are all entitled to $50,000. Other districts are entitled to $25,000. And once a grant is closed, you can start a new one. So you can participate in multiple district grants over the course. And the thing is that the plan is to spend the initial $15 million by the end of December. So the time scale is accelerated, so we're really pushing to use up the rest of that $4 million that is left.
Thank you, Mark.
One thing I'd like to explain briefly before we go into questions, because I know Virginia has just recently moved into our district. Every Rotary Club in District 5000 receives an allocation of DDF for their district grants and their global grants. So the purpose of this project fair, the deadline for commitment of allocated DDF is November 1st. So each one of the Rotary clubs in our district needs to decide on one or more global grants that they want to support with DDF in cash. You're required to match your DDF allocation with a cash contribution, but you could also put in more cash. The Rotary Foundation is no longer matching club cash, but it is matching DDF up to 80%. So if you put up $1,000 in cash from your club, you'll receive a match from the district of $1,000 and $800 from the Rotary Foundation World Fund. So for $1,000, you get a total contribution of $2,800. So questions, comments?
So Mark, before we get into questions, can we go in more into that pledge form? So let me share the screen. So this is the allocation form that is on the district website. And so you see this last column, it says global grants. This is your allocation for the club to pledge. And so if you're not going to put up the cash for this, and you are willing to maybe let someone else use your DDF, let Mark know about that. But what we'd like you to do is put in this this matching cash from your club. And the form that you'd fill out is this one. Okay, so this is the form that your president and your president-elect would sign. And you're going to put in what global grant you're going to put in. If there's no global grant number yet, you can put in Mark, is it the name of the project and the country up here?
Yeah, well, so for example, you could say as club president and president-elect, I certify the Rotary Club of whatever will support the global grant in Fiji.
Okay. And they can split up. So if they've got an allocation of $3,000, they can split it up to 3 different global grants and list it 3 times, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. And you want to explain why we need the president-elect to sign this form?
Yeah, because what happens is that in a lot of cases, especially for water and sanitation projects, the grants are not approved until the following Rotary year. And so this, what we want to do is ensure that the president-elect and his board, his or her board, know that they have commitments for a previous global grant and that they should set aside that cash to match the DDF for that old grant. So you have new DDF for your year as president, but you also have a commitment to whatever grant your club committed to in the previous year.
So it's really important if that project doesn't go by this, the end of this year, that your club sets aside your commitment for when that project does go. So you've got to let your treasurer know that that money is already committed for when this project goes. But also you need to add a 5%. So Mark, with the 5%, you want to explain the 5%?
The 5% is basically a surcharge for admin. I spoke about this during the grants qualification seminar, but basically the demand for global grants is outrunning the income from investments on the Rotary Foundation World Fund. So in order to enable more districts to do more global grants, what they decided to do was eliminate the cash matching for club funds and to reduce the DDF match to 80%. The final thing they had to do was to do this 5% surcharge to help pay for the administration of these grants. So basically the 5% is a reserve, but they draw on it every year because demand for global grants is growing at about 12% a year. And the income from investments is growing only at about 4%. So, it's a problem. It's a dilemma for the Rotary Foundation, and they're doing what they can to enable clubs to do more global grants as possible.
So Mark, is that 5% on top of the grant, or is it included? Is it taken off the total?
No, so when you match, for example, if you have $1,000 DDF allocation, you match it for 1,000, you need to add 50 for that 5% surcharge.
Okay.
Okay, so when the host club is ready to get the money to Rotary International, you'll get instructions on where to send that money. And so your check normally would be payable to the Rotary Foundation, but it needs to go to RI some way or the other. It might be through the host club, but it's got to name that global grant number. Otherwise, they're going to put it towards Rotary Foundation and that grant doesn't get funded. But let me also show where you're going to find these forms. So on the district website, when you go to Foundation and Grants, okay, go to grants and then global grants, and then you'll get to this page. And this page has the grant allocation, okay, for this year. It has the pledge form, the commitment form. And so you can just pull it down, fill it out, and send it to Mark. Okay.
And just a reminder, I know all the people on this call know it, but you might remind your clubs and talk to other clubs about the fact that these allocations, the money that you're getting back to be able to put into your global grants and your district grants, is based on the amount of contributions that your club has made for the prior 3 years. So it's important to encourage giving so that we have more money to give back.
Mark, Paul McConchie, I have a question for you, please. Well, Little on the Sunrise is looking for a global grant support for this upcoming Rotary year, Rotary year 22-23. And I understand the global grant process. You mentioned earlier in your presentation about the international project. Can you differentiate the global grants from the international projects, please?
All of the grants that I presented are global grants, except the donation project that Del Green launched for Sri Lanka, and the Ukraine disaster response grant. So when I put this version of the PowerPoint up on the website, you'll see that all of those grants that are currently being considered, except the Vietnam grant and the Fiji grant, do have global grant numbers already.
Okay, but you
So
talked about the international project, Ukraine.
Yeah, so that is not a global grant. That is a project at the district level that we're doing separately.
I see. Thank you.
So Mark, one more question. If, and I'm
Virginia, you just hit your mute button. Unmute yourself.
sorry,
There
this
you-
keyboard is too sensitive. If the club wanted to support something like a Rotoplas mission, we could still use our matching funds for that, or
You
no?
can use it for a global grant that is doing Rotoplas. And if even if it's outside our district, we don't encourage necessarily giving to grants outside of our district, but if you want to do that, you certainly can.
Well,
But you cannot give DDF to Rotoplas. You have to give it to a global grant.
I see. Oh, okay.
Mark? Hi,
Yeah.
Jonathan McRoberts here. Quick question on the Ukraine, those non-global grant things.
Yeah.
If the club isn't interested, but you're interested in giving money directly, you do that through the Rotary Foundation or not? What do you do?
You can actually direct it to the Disaster Grant Fund,
Okay,
Rotary Direct, and earmark it for Ukraine.
you can earmark it. Okay, thank you.
But actually another opportunity, we have a few minutes left. Let me ask Alan Kusanoki to talk about his project. He has a donation project for Ukraine.
Yeah, I think it's important that all of you who have been on this call since 9 o'clock, you realize that these projects are all in various stages of completion. And literally this project I found out about less than a week ago. And it's basically one in which a soldier in Ukraine wrote to his friend who lives in Australia and said, we need help because the army is freezing out here. Temperatures are starting to get into the 40s now. And so they are literally sleeping in summer sleeping bags or on bare ground. And I stress the fact that, this is kind of in its infancy. I'm not quite sure where we can go, what we're allowed to do, but that's part of what this whole fair is about, so that all of us can learn a little bit more about how to do this. And this is brand new. I mean, I never even heard of the Intercountry Committee program until only recently when the whole war in Ukraine broke out. So I'm still at the early stages. That's what it is so far. I've already gotten a text from from some of you who heard about it, how can we help? And I'm not quite sure yet. So Mark, you can explain a little bit more.
Yeah, you know what? In the invitation email I sent out, I included Alan's email address, and also there's a bank account number that you can wire money directly to the guy who's running this project. And Alan, I'm surprised you didn't mention it, but this is part of Alan's connections through the Peace Corps, through Partnering for Peace, which is a Rotary collaboration with the Rotary Foundation.
Wait a minute, Rob.
Yeah, so, it's not just something that came out of the thin air. It's part of his network of returning Rotary Peace.
Return, right. Basically what it is there are many, there are over 200 different organizations of Return Peace Corps volunteers. And one of the things that an organization called Partnering for Peace, which is a formal club, as it were, form of Rotarians who are Return Peace Corps volunteers also. And that's the membership of the group. And so projects like this just pop up because Rotarians know the access to the Rotary Foundation. And then, of course, the Return Peace Corps volunteers know people in the country. This happened just simply because the current president of our Return Peace Corps volunteers organization here on Oahu simply used to have an English teaching program, a club, as it were, of volunteers helping Ukrainians, and this is a few years back. But that friendship is still there, and that's how we found out about this. Now, where it goes from here, I don't know, but we're trying to see where we can go with this.
Yeah. So, and on that lovely note, let's end this and let everybody go off and have coffee and breakfast. And thank you all for taking time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Awesome job, Mark. Good job.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for all of your time and effort that you put into this. My goodness, it's amazing. You're amazing.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you,
Here,
guys.
here.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.